In April 1970, what was supposed to be NASA's third successful moon landing mission turned into a harrowing fight for survival. Apollo 13, often remembered for the famous line "Houston, we've had a problem," faced a near-catastrophic failure in space. With the spacecraft crippled, NASA engineers and astronauts had to rely on their ingenuity and teamwork to bring the crew safely back to Earth. This narrative explores the events surrounding the Apollo 13 incident, the challenges faced by the astronauts and mission control, and how a near disaster became a triumph of human ingenuity and perseverance.
Following the successes of Apollo 11 and Apollo 12, Apollo 13 was set to continue NASA's exploration of the Moon. Launched on April 11, 1970, the mission included Commander Jim Lovell, Command Module Pilot Jack Swigert, and Lunar Module Pilot Fred Hayes. Their objective was to land in the Fromaro Highlands, a region of the Moon rich in geological features that could reveal more about the Moon's history. The Apollo missions were highly complex and dangerous, pushing the boundaries of human space exploration. The astronauts and the mission control team in Houston worked in tandem, meticulously planning each detail of the journey. Despite thorough preparation, however, space travel is unpredictable, and the mission quickly turned into one of NASA's greatest challenges.
2 days after launch, on April 13, 1970, disaster struck. While en route to the Moon, an oxygen tank in the service module exploded, severely damaging the spacecraft. The explosion caused a loss of electrical power and oxygen, leaving the command module, Odyssey, severely compromised. With the ship's life support systems failing, the crew faced a dire situation far from Earth. Astronaut Jack Swigert's now famous communication with Mission Control summed up the gravity of the situation. "Houston, we've had a problem." The explosion left the crew with limited resources and no way to complete their mission. The focus immediately shifted from landing on the Moon to ensuring the survival of the astronauts and getting them safely back to Earth. The damage to the spacecraft was severe. One oxygen tank had ruptured completely, while the second was leaking. Without the necessary fuel cells to generate power, the command module became largely unusable. The astronauts quickly moved to the lunar module, Aquarius, which was not designed for long-term habitation. The lunar module's resources, meant to support 2 astronauts for only 2 days, now had to sustain 3 astronauts for 4 days while they circled the Moon and made their way back to Earth.
Back on Earth, Mission Control in Houston faced one of the greatest challenges in space exploration history. Engineers and scientists scrambled to develop a plan to bring the crew home safely. Every step was critical, and every decision had to be made with limited information and high stakes. The immediate challenge was figuring out how to keep the astronauts alive with limited power, water, and oxygen. The lunar module systems were not designed to support 3 astronauts for the duration of the return trip, so NASA had to improvise solutions on the fly. To conserve energy, the crew powered down all non-essential systems, leaving the spacecraft extremely cold. Despite the frigid conditions, the crew remained focused and calm, trusting in their training and the support of Mission Control. One of the most innovative solutions involved converting the lunar module's carbon dioxide removal system. The existing filters in the module were quickly becoming saturated, but Mission Control ingeniously devised a way to adapt spare parts from the command module to create a makeshift filtration system. Using materials such as plastic bags, cardboard, and duct tape, the astronauts built a device that saved their lives by keeping carbon dioxide levels under control. Another key challenge was navigating the damaged spacecraft back to Earth. Without the full functionality of the command module's navigation system, Mission Control had to guide the astronauts using manual procedures and calculations. The spacecraft had to slingshot around the moon to return to Earth, using the moon's gravity to correct their trajectory. This maneuver required precise timing, and the astronauts had to manually fire the lunar module's engine to achieve the correct course. Despite the challenges, the teamwork between the astronauts and mission control paid off. The crew continued their journey around the moon, and every obstacle was met with creative solutions. After a tense and harrowing trip, the moment of truth arrived: re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
On April 17, 1970, after 4 days of uncertainty, Apollo 13 re-entered Earth's atmosphere. The astronauts, in their now depleted command module, prepared for a high-speed descent. The world watched with bated breath as the spacecraft passed through the re-entry blackout period, during which communication was temporarily lost. Finally, after the agonizing wait, radio contact was re-established, and the command module safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. The crew was quickly retrieved by the USS Iwo Jima, marking the successful conclusion of a perilous journey. Apollo 13 was hailed as a successful failure. Although the crew never reached the moon, the mission demonstrated the incredible resourcefulness, teamwork, and bravery of the astronauts and the engineers on the ground. The successful return of the crew was a triumph of human ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds, and the mission became a defining moment in the history of space exploration. NASA conducted a thorough investigation into the cause of the oxygen tank explosion, leading to significant improvements in spacecraft design and mission safety protocols. The Apollo 13 mission also highlighted the importance of contingency planning and the ability to adapt in real time when things go wrong. The experience ultimately made future space missions safer and more.
Apollo 13 stands as one of NASA's most remarkable stories of survival and ingenuity. The mission demonstrated the power of human perseverance, problem-solving, and teamwork in the face of an unimaginable crisis. While the original goal of landing on the moon was not achieved, the safe return of the astronauts became a symbol of triumph over adversity. The legacy of Apollo 13 continues to inspire generations, reminding us of the extraordinary capabilities of humans to adapt, innovate, and overcome even the most daunting challenges.